We should go back to what the situation is in Rhode Island.
Okay.
And maybe later talk a little bit about the difference between what gay marriage means and what civil unions mean and some other things, because that gets bandied about a little bit.
It surely does.
So I think maybe you experts can
I think you can address
instruct our
the
audience.
case law in Rhode Island.
There are a couple of great cases in Rhode Island. They're great because they're well thought out and they're logical. And they also have taken a non-prejudicial look at families with same-sex parents. And there's one that started out in the family court where two lesbian co-parents who had originally married in Massachusetts moved to Rhode Island, separated. There were disputes as to visitation. And the mother who was shut out of the relationship went to the family court seeking redress. Now, she couldn't go in, she couldn't get the family court to help her based on some of the family court's powers, because the family court has powers to address divorce and equitable arrangements following divorce. And obviously, since she hadn't been married, she, within the meaning of Rhode Island law, as far as the family court was able to decide, they didn't have jurisdiction because of the divorce. But they did have jurisdiction because in Rhode Island, we have a Uniform Paternity Act. And we have a law, Rhode Island General Law 4333, which says that whenever practicable, we should interpret male terms to include female whenever that's necessary to promote justice. And so under the terms of that Uniform Paternity Act, the family court said, yeah, we can decide whether or not you and this child have a mother-child relationship. And the court looked at the relationship between the woman who had sought the court's help and the child and said, family relationships consist of the daily contact and the caring, the attempts to visit, the going to school events. That's what makes a family. And said, yes, a mother-child relationship does exist in this case. Mm-hmm. The case went up to the Rhode Island Supreme Court. In the Rhode Island Supreme Court, in a divided opinion, agreed. Okay. So we have that already going for us in Rhode Island, where we've had...
Was that a long time ago?
2000.
2000, no, not so long.
Not so long ago. We have another case in which a wife didn't want to pay for her deceased husband's medical expenses. And there's a law in Rhode Island that says that a husband is liable for the wife's necessary expenses, or there was a law, at least before this case. And so the widow said, well, I'm not a husband. I don't need to pay all these thousands of dollars of medical expenses. The Rhode Island Supreme Court said, yes, you do. Marriage is no longer this patriarchal institution with a husband taking care of a wife. And in fact, said the court, the background for that particular law is it dates back to when women didn't have their own resources. So you had to collect from the husband, but no more, said the court. Marriage is like a partnership. And the court threw in some more references to how marriage has changed throughout the country, including recognition of same-sex marriage in Massachusetts, recognition of marriage itself as an economic and social unit. And on that basis, the court said to the widow, you have to pay. That's not, marriage is not about you being the poor little wife and him being the husband. You're an equal partnership and you therefore are liable.
That is so interesting. You know, Rhode Island statutes don't explicitly bar women from marrying women or men from marrying men. They lay out a whole set of female relations that a man can't marry and a whole set of male relations that a woman can't marry. And one of the things, when that gets brought up, one of the things that a lot of people who choose to oppose look through, they paw through all of the statutes around divorce or around how do you actually get a marriage license, and there are a lot of references to the bride and the groom or the husband and the wife throughout that. It's very interesting that our own Supreme Court has actually said that those terms should be interpreted in a gender-neutral way when necessary.
Yeah, exactly. When necessary to further their purpose and to provide justice. And then there's one more opinion which says you don't have to have a biological connection with a child to be a parent. So that clears the way for same-sex parents to have full parental status with regard to children without having the biological connection.
Wow. So they're right there out in the open, but took you, Kate, to put them together, all these.
I think also that it's very interesting that Kate took the aspect of looking towards family court opinions and trying to make the argument for same-sex marriage, because in all the research that I've been doing, I haven't seen anything in regarding to like illegitimacy, and that's also under the Equal Protection Clause that's in the majority of our state constitutions and in the federal constitution. That's almost a way to get heightened scrutiny where the court has to look at whatever the statute that the General Assembly or anyone is putting forward and seeing if there's any rational basis or a stricter scrutiny to let it stand and having to do that. And you wonder with homosexual couples that do have children, what is the rational basis to treat them differently than heterosexual couples? So if you put the focus on the children and then say, well, say if two homosexual people have a child together, one of the parents dies, there's so many benefits that maybe the other parent won't be able to have to support their children. So it's almost like a back way to get that heightened scrutiny, and a lot of courts haven't even realized that, though. And I think that it's good to look at family court opinions because it could support that argument that no one else has made. So
That's what's so impressive about the Goodrich opinion, really. You think until you read it, that it's some sort of a strident manifesto that was inflicted on people. It's actually a kind and thoughtful dissection of society, the way we've set up society and what actually flows from marriage, as opposed to the sort of religious Cinderella gobbledygook. What really happens when people get married? What do they get?
So I would be really interested to know from the two of you, we currently have a divorce case pending in the family court. A same-sex couple, lesbian couple, was married in Massachusetts in 2004. They filed for divorce here in the family court. The family court said, we don't know if we can deal with this. They gave it up to the Supreme Court. Supreme Court asked for a bunch of clarifications, and we don't know at all what are they going to do. But it sounds like it's reassuring to me to hear you analyze this case law. I'm wondering what you think.
The Attorney General came out with some opinion on that.
Not on this divorce case.
Oh,
it's a different case. Yep.
On something
On a
else.
different issue, yeah.
All right.
Wonder if are there children involved?
No, there are no children involved.
But still, I think that based on the precedent that was set up in the case that I described in detail in the family court, when we look broadly at the purposes of the family court under the statute that set it up, that's what it's supposed to do. We don't really have any policy that says, no, the court should leave people out to dry on a technicality or really on any, we should try to resolve problems. The family court was set up to provide a central place and jurisdiction for resolving family problems. That's the way the court has acted thus far with regard to children of same-sex couples. And so if our Supreme Court is true to that logic, I think it will have to find that the family court has jurisdiction over a same-sex couple divorce. Because the other reason that it would is because there is no Rhode Island policy against this type of marriage. So there's really no reason not to.
That's right. I'm going to have to interrupt Kate and Jen and Brad here for a few minutes. We'll take a short break, and we'll be back in the next half hour for some more of this conversation on the case for gay marriage in Rhode Island. The legal case is what we're talking about today. So bear with us. We'll be back. Okay. Okay, we're back again, good people. And Rhode Island Soapbox this afternoon. Our subject matter is the case for gay marriage in Rhode Island. And I'm no lawyer or anything, but with me today is Kate Bohl from Stetson University Law School in Florida. Kate, who is about to have published an article on this subject in the Law Review magazine or newsletter, whatever it is, of Roger Williams University. And Jen Steinfeld is here, who is
I'm not a lawyer either, right?
not a lawyer either, but a director, is that the proper word now, of Marriage Equality Rhode Island. And Brad Pelletier, who is about to graduate from Roger Williams Law School and has done some research on this subject in Rhode Island, too. So I'm going to leave the conversation up to them in the first